Hey guys, tonight we step into a world wrapped in shadows and silence where every breath you take could betray you, and the noise you make might just be your last. Imagine being born into a place where the loudest thing you can do is hold your breath, and where your parents' faces are strangers because trust is a weapon sharper than any blade. You probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and drop your location and local time in the comments so we can see where this quiet story is traveling. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You come into this world not with a cry, but with silence. In a small, secluded mountain village tucked away in Japan's rugged terrain, the birth of a child is not a celebration, it's a whispered secret. The newborn ninja is swaddled, not, well, just in cloth, but in caution. Even the faintest sound, a rustling leaf, a breath too loud, could draw the wrong kind of attention. Noise, in this world, equals danger. Your parents are shadows themselves, people you may never truly know. They don't introduce themselves by name, but rather by code or clan title. Historians still argue whether these secretive naming customs were primarily for protection or psychological conditioning. Either way, your identity is already a fragmented puzzle. You are given a name that isn't yours, a mask before you even understand the concept of faces. Your family's history is hidden, tangled in secrecy. This isn't a home where lullabies soothe you. It's a place where silence is the lullaby. And every sound is a warning. The air feels thick with tension, like the calm before a storm you can't see. The village around you is sparse, made of weathered wood and stone, walls built to hide and not to welcome. The elders move silently, their eyes sharp, always watching, always calculating. You sense their gaze even before they look your way. You grow up learning that being seen is the first step toward death. From your very first breath, the lesson is clear in this life. Invisibility isn't just a skill, it's survival. The world outside might paint ninjas as mysterious heroes clad in black, but your reality is far less glamorous. It's a childhood spent avoiding notice, a life measured by quiet steps and muffled sounds. You are handed your first weapon almost as soon as you can grip not a toy, but a tool of survival. A shuriken, cold and sharp, nestled in your tiny fist, signaling that playtime has a different meaning here. It's not about fun, it's about learning how to defend, how to strike without warning. Even your earliest memories are tinged with fear and training. Crying is punished, not because you are a bad child, but because noise might attract enemies. Sneezing, coughing, even laughing could be fatal mistakes. You learn to swallow your emotions, just like you swallow your breath in a silent room. This quiet upbringing is unlike anything else in the world. The idea of a loving family unit is replaced with a system of cold efficiency. You aren't raised to be warm or affectionate. You're raised to be a weapon, a ghost. It's worth noting that some scholars debate how much of this harsh reality was true for all ninja clans. The romanticized legends often gloss over these brutal beginnings, but surviving records suggest that this strict silence was a cornerstone of early ninja life. As you grow, the weight of secrecy presses heavier on your small shoulders. Questions about who you really are go unanswered, buried beneath layers of code names and hidden lineage. Your own face becomes a mask, and so your story begins in silence, where every whisper could be your undoing, and every breath held might be your salvation. You're barely out of infancy, but already the shadows are your only friends. Childhood for you isn't a time of carefree laughter or messy play. It's a time of strict discipline and quiet endurance. You grow up learning to hide your pain, to swallow every tear, and to suppress any hint of weakness. Imagine a playground where the loudest noise could summon death, where crying is a betrayal of survival. You wake each day to a world that demands silence like a sacred vow. From the moment you learn to crawl, you are taught the importance of moving quietly, of blending into the background like a whisper in the wind. Your every step must be measured, every breath controlled. This is a life where the most innocent actions like sneezing or coughing are treated as potential hazards. Your caregivers don't comfort you with gentle words or soft embraces. Instead, they are stern instructors, always watching for the slightest mistake. The penalty for failure isn't a timeout, it's often a lesson in pain. Stories are passed down of children punished harshly for the smallest slips, like a toddler whose accidental sneeze led to a grim warning. These tales aren't told to scare you, but to teach you the cold realities of your future. As you grow, your training intensifies. You learn to control your body like a finely tuned instrument, breathing deeply and silently, holding your breath underwater, and moving without making a sound. By the time you're four, you can climb trees as effortlessly as a monkey, but you're not allowed to cry if you scrape a knee on the rough bark. Tears are a liability here. Your playtime is less play and more preparation for the battles to come. Instead of games of tag, you engage in exercises that sharpen your senses and reflexes. You're taught to anticipate danger before it appears, to read the slightest change in the air, and to react with lightning speed. Even your meals are regimented. Eating quickly and silently is yet another skill to master. One of the strangest lessons involves the body's vulnerabilities. You memorize pressure points, 17 of them, each capable of incapacitating an opponent with a precise strike. This knowledge is both fascinating and terrifying. You also learn about poisons and antidotes, gradually building an immunity by ingesting tiny amounts of toxins under careful supervision. Dinner conversations often revolve around identifying the subtle taste of a deadly herb or detecting the faint scent of a venom. The mental toll of this upbringing is enormous. You're expected to suppress fear, pain, and even empathy. Emotional expression is considered dangerous because it could cloud your judgment or give away your intentions. Friendships are discouraged, as attachments could compromise your mission or loyalty. Historians still argue whether this extreme form of childhood training was universal across all ninja clans or if it varied widely depending on region and era. Some records hint that certain groups might have had a slightly more lenient approach, but the general consensus paints a picture of harsh, unforgiving beginnings. You come to understand that your identity is not your own. You are a product of the clan's needs, a living weapon forged through silence and discipline. The concept of self is blurred, replaced by duty and survival. This isn't a childhood that prepares you for life, it prepares you for a shadowy existence where every moment could be your last. So, as you lie awake at night, you don't dream of adventures or heroes. You dream of invisibility, of becoming nothing more than a ghost slipping through the cracks of a hostile world. And in that silence, you find your purpose. You wake up again, this time heavier with purpose training intensifies, and your body begins to learn control on a new level. It's not like the usual childhood where you run wild or stumble in messy attempts at walking. No, your every movement is scrutinized, honed, and perfected. You learn to hold your breath long enough to slip silently beneath the water, a skill that might save your life one day. Your small hands grip rough tree bark as you climb higher and faster than any kid in a normal village. But you do this not for fun, it's survival training. By now, you're mastering skills that would make any ordinary kid's head spin. Breath control becomes second nature. You learn how to calm your racing heart in moments of fear. You practice disappearing into shadows and freezing when danger is near. This early regimen is designed to make you a ghost in plain sight. In truth, many might be surprised that children as young as 4 or 5 were subjected to such intense life or death drills, but this was the norm for ninja clans like the Iga and Koga. Interestingly, ninja training was not just physical. You are introduced to basic weapons early on, not with play swords or wooden sticks, but with real tools like shuriken, those famous throwing stars, kunai, multi-purpose knives, and even simple bows. This early exposure means you don't just learn how to use weapons, you start to think of them as extensions of yourself. It's less about wielding power and more about becoming an instrument of subtlety and precision. One quirky detail: some ninja kids reportedly practiced with animal parts, like climbing walls using sticky sap or mimicking the way geckos cling to surfaces. Whether or not this was widespread, it shows a mindset obsessed with blending in and adapting to the environment. Your mental training goes hand in hand with the physical. You begin to memorize coded messages, ancient scripts, and secret signals. Your ability to read faces, hear whispers in a crowd, and detect shifts in body language is sharpened. Every lesson feels like a puzzle you must solve, and failure is never an option. Historians still argue whether some techniques were passed down orally or through secret scrolls. But what's clear is the heavy emphasis on information and intelligence. The psychological pressure is immense. You understand early on that mistakes could cost not just you, but your entire clan. This knowledge seeps into your bones, a constant reminder that your life is tightly wound into a web of duty and secrecy. Even play, if you can call it that, is intertwined with training instead of dolls or ball games. You practice silent movement drills and stealth exercises. It's an odd childhood where the thrill of discovery is replaced by the fear of discovery. This early regimen doesn't leave much room for mistakes or mercy. You learn to bite down on pain, to shrug off fear, and to suppress the natural impulse to scream or cry out. Every lesson is a test, every day a battle against your own limits. And so, by the time you reach even basic school age, your body is a finely tuned machine, trained not just to survive, but to vanish. The foundation for a life in shadows is laid brick by brick, breath by breath. Playtime, forget it. Your childhood games are grim rehearsals for death, not fun and games. Imagine a world where a sneeze during hide and seek could earn you a punishment worse than a timeout because noise might lead to discovery, and discovery could mean death. The rules are ruthless, and every misstep is a lesson soaked in fear. Your toys aren't toys at all. Instead of plush dolls or wooden swords, you handle cold steel shuriken and kunai, tools of survival rather than amusement. Your play is laced with drills designed to sharpen reflexes and hone stealth. Every game, every movement is a calculated exercise. You practice vanishing from sight, freezing at the slightest sound, and striking without hesitation. It's a harsh education in violence disguised as childhood. Discipline dominates your days. Crying is forbidden. Showing pain, fear, or hesitation could mark you as weak and easy target for enemies, or even your own clan's strict elders. You learn to swallow every hurt, physical or emotional, because to falter is to risk the mission, and in the ninja's world, failure is fatal. Interestingly, some clans reportedly used mock assassination games, where you'd silently try to eliminate opponents without being detected. It sounds like a dangerous game of tag, but with deadly consequences if you slipped up. Whether this was a training method or a grim rite of passage, it reinforces how intertwined your childhood was with lethal skills. Your training isn't just about the physical, it's about mental resilience. You learn to suppress laughter and excitement, emotions that could give you away. You become adept at hiding your true feelings behind a mask of calm and control. In a way, you're practicing to be a performer in a deadly theater where the audience is always watching but must never see your true self. There's also the strange ritual of endurance, long hours without food or rest, learning patience and fortitude. You're conditioned to expect discomfort as a normal part of life, a necessary sacrifice on the path to becoming invisible. Historians still argue whether this intense early training was a universal standard or varied between clans and regions. Some suggest that certain groups might have had slightly softer methods, though the general consensus points to a childhood marked by relentless discipline and hardship. Your playtime, or lack thereof, teaches you one clear truth. In the ninja's world, survival depends on your ability to control everything, even your own body's most natural reactions. You're not just training to be unseen, you're training to be untouchable. So, as you practice your silent movements and controlled breathing, you realize that the carefree childhood you might have dreamed of is a luxury far beyond your reach. Instead, you're sculpting yourself into a weapon, ready for the shadows that await. You settle into a new kind of learning, where the human body itself becomes a weapon and a fragile target. You memorize 17 vital pressure points on the body, each a secret key to disable an enemy instantly. It's a macabre sort of knowledge, like a twisted anatomy class where every detail could mean life or death. You practice strikes and holds on dummies, shadows, and sometimes even unwilling partners, learning how a well-placed touch can end a fight before it begins. But it's not just muscle and bone you're studying. You're diving into the world of poisons and antidotes. Ninja clans were masters of subtlety, and understanding toxins was crucial. You learn to ingest tiny doses of poisons to build immunity, a strange, unsettling diet of slow exposure to danger. This isn't your typical childhood nutrition plan. It's more like eating your way through a minefield. Your evenings aren't peaceful either. Instead of family dinners, you participate in tasting tests where you identify deadly substances by taste or smell. It's a nerve wracking challenge, forcing you to sharpen senses most would never think to use this way. You become adept at detecting the faintest hint of arsenic or the bitterness of aconite, training your palate to save your life. Quirky though it sounds, some ninja were rumored to use crocodile dung as a sunscreen or poison antidote, a practice that leaves modern historians scratching their heads, but illustrates just how resourceful and sometimes desperate these warriors could be. Whether this was myth or method, it underscores the unconventional knowledge passed down through generations. As you internalize these lessons, you begin to understand that the human body is a map of both power and vulnerability. Every nerve, every vein, every breath counts. Your training is not just about offense, but about survival, knowing about where to protect yourself and where to strike with surgical precision. Historians still argue whether such extreme poison training was common practice or reserved for elite ninja, but the idea remains unsettling. You grow up treating your own body as both a battlefield and a laboratory. You're taught that knowledge is power, especially the knowledge that others fear or ignore. This dual education in anatomy and toxicology isn't just for combat, it's a way to manipulate and control the world around you from the shadows. The psychological weight of this education is heavy. It's hard to reconcile the innocence of youth with the brutal facts of your training. You live in a world where taste tests can be deadly, and where every meal might carry a hidden threat. So you steel yourself, knowing that understanding these dangers is the only way to survive the invisible wars you're destined to fight. And in this crucible of body and poison, your transformation into a true ninja takes another step forward. You learn early that blending in is everything. Becoming invisible isn't just about moving silently, it's about disappearing into any environment. Like a chameleon shifting colors on demand, you practice disguises and deception as intensely as swordplay. Whether it's swapping clothes with a farmer, slipping into a merchant's caravan, or adopting the role of a wandering monk, your identity is fluid, always changing. Your training includes mastering mimicry, not just in speech and mannerisms, but in how you carry yourself. You study the gait of a village elder, the posture of a traveling merchant, even the subtle habits of children. The goal isn't just to blend in, but to disappear behind the everyday bustle of life. You become a ghost within a crowd, unnoticed and unfelt. Interestingly, ninja weren't always clad in black suits. That image, mostly a creation of later popular culture. In reality, your attire is practical earth tones and muted colors that help you vanish into forests, villages, or marketplaces. Black at night might stand out against the dark blue of a moonlit sky. After all, you learn the art of camouflage not just through clothing, but through behavior and timing. Your diet is another curious facet of your training. You consume strange herbs, some harmless and others mildly toxic, to build resistance and sharpen your senses. You learn to identify edible plants in the wild and avoid those that could poison you or leave traces. Your food is medicine, fuel, and armor against the dangers of your covert life. Mental fortitude is key here. You practice patience and observation, sitting still for hours in uncomfortable positions, watching and listening without reacting. Your senses become finely tuned instruments capable of detecting the slightest change, a shifted shadow, a whispered word, a distant footstep. Historians still debate how much of this mimicry and disguise was formalized training versus natural survival instincts passed through generations. Some argue that the theatrical disguises we imagine are exaggerations, while others point to records of complex ruses used in espionage. You train to be a master of illusion and truth, wielding deception as your primary weapon. This skill isn't just survival, it's control. By hiding your true self, you gain power over others, moving unseen and unheard through a world full of threats. So you become many people at once: a merchant, a priest, a commoner, all masks worn to keep you alive. Your true face is reserved for no one, and as you slip through shadows, you realize this ability to vanish is your greatest asset. Your first real mission arrives like a shadow at dusk, unexpected, tense, and unforgiving. It's not a dramatic showdown or a daring assassination. No, your inaugural task is to deliver a message, quietly and without a trace. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. The stakes couldn't be higher, and failure isn't an option. You slip through forests, cross streams, and navigate enemy territory with the weight of your clan's survival resting on your small shoulders. This isn't a walk in the park, but a test of every skill you've learned. You move silently, timing your steps between the sounds of rustling leaves and distant birdsong. Every snap of a twig underfoot feels like a gunshot in the stillness. The message you carry is coded, complex, and vital. One slip, one accidental whisper, and the information falls into enemy hands, dooming your allies. You learn quickly that nerves can betray you as much as noise. Your heart pounds like a drum in your chest, but you force it to slow. Focus on the task. You become a shadow within shadows, invisible not just to the eye, but to suspicion itself. Isolation tightens around you like a shroud. You cannot trust anyone, not even those in your own clan. Emotional connections are a luxury you cannot afford. The loneliness of these missions is crushing. You are alone in the dark. Your only companions, the cold wind and the silent stars. Your first success fills you with a mix of relief and dread. You've proven you can survive, but you also understand that this is only the beginning. The missions will become more dangerous, more complex, and more isolating. Interestingly, some ninja were said to use clever tricks to avoid detection, like hiding messages inside hollowed out eggs or disguising themselves as itinerant priests to slip past guards. The creativity and resourcefulness required are staggering. Historians still argue about how much actual espionage ninja conducted versus how much has been romanticized by folklore. What's clear, though, is that information gathering was a crucial part of their role, and delivery missions were often the first test of a novice's abilities. So, as you fade into the night, clutching your precious message, you realize that the quiet life you trained for is about to get a lot more dangerous. And there's no turning back now as you step deeper into the shadowed path. The loneliness wraps tighter around your spirit. Bonds, friendships, family, any genuine connection are forbidden. You learn early that attachments make you vulnerable, softening your edge and risking your secrets. In your world, trust is currency too costly to spend freely. You watch others play, laugh, and form bonds from a distance, feeling the sting of isolation, but knowing you must remain detached. Emotional walls rise around you like fortress walls, designed to keep others out and your own feelings locked away. Any flicker of warmth is a threat that could unravel years of careful control. Your solitude isn't just a mental trial, it's enforced by necessity. Sharing your true self could lead to betrayal or compromise. The clan's survival depends on secrecy, and that means you must carry your burdens alone. Even your closest allies are shadows present but distant. This isolation breeds a quiet desperation. You crave connection, but learn to suppress it beneath layers of discipline. Emotions become dangerous tools, sometimes weapons against yourself. Loneliness is a constant companion, a silent echo in the stillness of your missions. Yet, paradoxically, this solitude sharpens your senses and instincts. Without distractions, you become hyper aware, attuned to the smallest changes in your surroundings. Your mind becomes a fortress, guarded and impenetrable, capable of enduring the weight of secrets few could bear. Interestingly, some ninja were said to communicate through subtle gestures and secret signs, creating an unspoken language to maintain contact without words. This silent code was essential, but never a replacement for real companionship. Historians still debate the psychological impact of this enforced isolation on ninja longevity and mental health. Some suggest it forged extraordinary resilience, while others argue it was a slow descent into loneliness and despair. As you move through this shadowed world, you carry the burden of solitude, a heavy cloak woven from silence and secrecy. Your heart beats quietly, tucked away beneath layers of control, ready for whatever darkness lies ahead. By the time you turn 16, you're no longer a trainee or a child hiding in shadows. You're a fully fledged ninja, ready to step into the harsh realities of covert warfare. The lessons, drills, and silent days of preparation converge into a new phase. Real missions where lives depend on your skill and discretion. This is when the stakes skyrocket, and the fantasy of ninja life dissolves into tense, dangerous reality, you are tasked with infiltration, slipping into enemy fortresses, and gathering intelligence. The walls you scale are high, the guards alert, and the consequences of discovery are deadly. You learn to move like a shadow, using every trick at your disposal: silent footsteps, quick disguises, and improvised tools. Your mind races constantly, analyzing escape routes and enemy patterns, while keeping your heart steady. Physical and mental endurance is tested like never before. You might be required to remain still for days in cramped, uncomfortable hiding spots, watching and waiting for the perfect moment to strike or slip away. Hunger, thirst, and exhaustion become constant companions. But your training pushes you beyond normal limits. You learn to detach from your body's discomforts, focusing instead on the mission. A quirky detail: some ninja reportedly used specially treated paper to send secret messages that could only be read under specific conditions, like heat or moisture. It's like spy tech centuries ahead of its time, and it shows how innovation was key in your covert work. Historians still argue whether such intricate espionage was widespread or limited to elite ninja clans. Some evidence suggests that many missions were more about sabotage and survival than high level spying. Regardless, the reality is stark. Ninja life isn't about glory or heroic battles, it's about the grind of waiting, watching, and moving unseen. The thrill you imagined as a child is replaced by the weight of constant danger. You quickly learn that success depends not just on skill, but on patience and nerves of steel. One misstep can mean capture, torture, or death, not just for you, but for your entire clan. As you slip through the enemy's defenses under the cloak of night, you realize that your training has prepared you well, but the world outside is colder and more unforgiving than you ever imagined. Despite the thrilling image you had of ninja life full of daring escapades and cinematic showdowns, the day-to-day reality is often painfully dull. Much of your time is spent doing the grunt work, listening to endless, boring conversations you'd rather forget, quietly gathering scraps of information nobody else notices, and waiting in cramped, uncomfortable places for hours, sometimes days. You become a master of patience, though not by choice. Waiting in silence, hidden behind a bamboo thicket or perched in a dark corner of a crowded market, is your norm. You learn to tune out the monotony, focusing instead on tiny details: a guard's shift change, a whispered word, a flicker of emotion on a merchant's face. These small clues are the lifeblood of your work. Sometimes you're assigned to eavesdrop on meetings so dull you wonder if anyone could actually be plotting anything important. But the truth is, information is power, and even the most tedious chatter might hide a critical secret. You sharpen your ability to listen without being noticed, to record and memorize without betraying your presence. Physical vigilance never lets up. You may sit still for hours, muscles stiff and eyes aching, but a single twitch or sound could blow your cover. The tension is exhausting, and you often dream of movement and freedom, but wake to the harsh reality of stillness. Interestingly, some ninja reportedly used coded whistles or hand signals to communicate silently over distances. It was a crude but effective way to share information without words, a reminder that communication itself was an art of concealment. Historians still argue how much of this surveillance work was glamorized or downplayed in historical records. Some suggest that the spy work was more extensive and sophisticated than commonly thought, while others believe much of the ninja's reputation was built on rumor and legend. So, while your skills might be impressive, much of your life is spent in quiet observation and endurance. It's a far cry from the fast-paced, action-packed stories you might have imagined, and yet it's this patience and persistence that often tip the scales in the deadly game of survival. As you listen in on yet another dull conversation, you realize that being a ninja means embracing the mundane just as much as the moment of danger. As the years pile on, your body begins to show the marks of relentless training and countless missions. The bruises, strains, and small fractures that once healed quickly now ache persistently. Every step is a reminder that the rigorous life you chose or was chosen for you comes with a cost. By your 30s, your youthful energy is a fading ember beneath layers of wear and pain. The harsh physical toll is compounded by the chronic injuries you carry: old wounds, twisted ankles from a stealthy climb, Muscle tears from long sprints, scars from close calls become daily companions. You wake with stiffness that no amount of stretching seems to soothe, and every movement is tinged with discomfort. The rigorous training that once made you feel invincible now feels like a slow erosion. Mentally, the strain deepens. The constant vigilance that once sharpened your senses begins to wear on your spirit. Nights are restless, haunted by memories of failed missions and close escapes. You're forced to confront the fact that your body can't keep pace with your mind's demands forever. Interestingly, some ninja who survived these harsh realities transitioned into roles as trainers and mentors, passing down their hard earned wisdom to the next generation. This shift often brought a bittersweet sense of purpose, sharing knowledge while facing the erosion of one's own capabilities. Historians still debate how many ninja lived long enough to retire or move into these teaching roles. Some records suggest many died young, victims of battle or political intrigue, while others found ways to extend their lives through secret medicines and therapies. The political landscape around you shifts constantly. Alliances between clans are fragile and fleeting, and today's ally might order your death tomorrow. This ever changing web of loyalty and betrayal means you must remain alert, not just to external enemies, but also to the shifting sands within your own ranks. This paranoia isn't just paranoia, it's survival. Trust is a luxury you can rarely afford, and the fear of betrayal adds another layer to your already heavy burden. So, as your body aches and the political tides shift unpredictably, you find yourself navigating a maze of dangers, both seen and unseen. The once sharp edge of your youth dulls, but your mind remains a vigilant blade, ready to adapt or disappear as the world demands. The world around you changes faster than you can blink. Political alliances shift like sand in a storm, and the friends you trusted yesterday may brand you an enemy tomorrow. One day, you're a valued asset, the next, a marked target. This brutal reality means that every decision you make carries the weight of life or death, not just for yourself, but for your entire clan. You learn that loyalty is a fragile thread, easily broken by ambition, fear, or betrayal. You witness allies turning on each other, secret plots to eliminate rivals, and shifting allegiances that blur the lines between friend and foe. In this volatile landscape, trust is a rare commodity, and paranoia becomes your constant companion. Your missions grow more dangerous, often involving sabotage, misinformation, and delicate espionage. You must navigate a labyrinth of deceit where one misstep can lead to capture or execution. The stakes have never been higher, and the cost of failure is measured in blood. Interestingly, some ninja reportedly employed double agent spies within spies to survive these treacherous times. The layers of deception became so complex that even those within the clan sometimes struggled to discern truth from lies. It's a dizzying game of shadows where identities blur and loyalties shift like smoke. Historians still debate how prevalent these betrayals and double crosses truly were versus how much they've been exaggerated by stories and legends. What's undeniable, however, is that the ninja's world was rife with political intrigue and danger beyond the battlefield. You live every day knowing that the very people who once shook your hand might be plotting your downfall. This constant uncertainty shapes your every move, forcing you to be vigilant, cunning, and ruthless when necessary. As you navigate this shifting maze, you realize that surviving the politics of your time requires as much skill and stealth as any mission behind enemy lines. Sometimes the only way to survive the endless shadows is to vanish completely, not just from the enemy, but from your own life. Fake your death, disappear into the countryside, and adopt the quiet disguise of a commoner. This is the path some ninja choose when the dangers become too great or the loyalty to their clan fades into weariness. You trade your weapons for farming tools, your stealthy movements for the slow, steady rhythms of rural life. Yet even in this new existence, paranoia lingers. You watch your back constantly, expecting a ghost from your past to emerge from the mist. Old habits die hard, and the silence that once protected you now feels like a prison. The life of a disguised farmer or merchant isn't peaceful. You live in constant fear of discovery, and your mind remains sharp, always calculating escape routes and potential threats. You're a stranger in your own skin, playing a role that keeps you alive but never lets you truly rest. Interestingly, some ninja went so far as to alter their appearance or assume completely new identities, even changing their names and family histories. This deep cover was essential to avoid assassination or capture. The extent of these identity shifts is still a matter of debate among historians, with some arguing that many ninja effectively erased their former lives. You learn that disappearance isn't just about physical survival, it's about psychological exile. You abandon your past self, your clan, and your name, all to buy a measure of peace in a world that never forgets. This choice is bittersweet. You escape the immediate dangers, but you also lose your place in the story you once believed in. The quiet life is a balm and a burden, a fragile refuge amid a lifetime of conflict. So, as you tend your fields in silence, you carry the weight of 1,000 secrets and the shadow of a life left behind. Your legacy is lost to time, but the scars remain, etched deep in both body and soul. Time marches on, and you feel its steady pull as the years wear down your body and spirit. Aging as a ninja means grappling with a fading edge. The once sharp reflex is dull, and the endurance you relied on begins to wane. You find yourself caught between the desire to remain useful and the harsh reality of decline. The missions you once tackled with fearless precision now require more careful calculation. Your body protests with aches and stiffness, and you know that a single mistake could be fatal. Yet, retirement isn't a luxury offered to many ninja. The work continues. Even as your strength fades, mentoring younger ninja becomes both a duty and a solace. Passing on your hard-won knowledge keeps you connected to the clan's purpose and helps preserve the art you've lived by. Teaching is a reminder that your legacy extends beyond your own lifespan. Still, loneliness deepens as comrades fall or vanish, the ranks thin, and you watch a new generation take up the shadows. You wonder if they truly understand the cost of this life, the sacrifices hidden beneath skill and secrecy. Some ninja attempted to slow aging through secret medicines or spiritual practices, but such methods were never foolproof. The physical toll was inevitable, and many faced a quiet resignation to the limits of their mortal bodies. Historians debate how many ninja managed to survive into old age and what their final years look like. The truth is obscured by time and legend, but the theme of solitude and fading strength recurs in many accounts. You confront the paradox of your existence, a life built on invisibility, yet one that leaves you profoundly isolated. The skills that once empowered you now remind you of what you've lost: youth, companionship, and sometimes hope. As night falls on your twilight years, you hold on to the rituals and memories that have defined you. Your story is one of endurance, secrecy, and a quiet courage few ever witness. You come to understand that the final chapter of a ninja's life is often written in quiet obscurity. Many ninja fade into the background, their true identities lost to history, their stories swallowed by time and shadow. They live out their last days alone, carrying the weight of secrets that no one else can share. Death might come suddenly or slowly, but it rarely offers peace. The loneliness you've known throughout your life settles like a heavy fog. Some ninja choose to fake their deaths, disappearing completely to find a semblance of normalcy, while others pass away unnoticed, their sacrifices buried beneath layers of secrecy. Your legacy is ambiguous and known to few, understood by fewer. The very skills that made you a formidable shadow have become chains, binding you to a life of solitude. You reflect on the paradox of your existence, a warrior of shadows who never truly lived in the light. There's a haunting moment when you encounter a young ninja from a rival clan, poised to end your life. In that brief, intense exchange, your only thought is a wistful longing to have been a simple farmer instead, to have lived a life unmarked by danger and silence. Historians continue to debate the true fate of many ninja, whether they died in battle, retired in secrecy, or were hunted down by those they once called allies. The truth remains elusive, wrapped in myths and half-remembered tales. As you settle into the final silence, you carry the quiet dignity of a life lived in shadows, a testament to endurance, sacrifice, and the heavy cost of secrecy. Your story, though hidden, echoes faintly through history, a whisper lost among louder legends. Word count. There, Odin. Now, let's gently wind down this journey. The night stretches long and deep around you, and as you lie back, the sharp edges of this shadowed life begin to soften. The silence that once held you captive now cradles you in calm. Let your breathing slow. Each inhale and exhale a gentle rhythm to ease your mind. Remember that even in the darkest shadows, there is peace to be found, if only for a moment. Your story is one of survival, resilience, and quiet strength lessons carried in the spaces between words and the stillness beneath movement. Rest now, knowing that the shadows hold their secrets safely, and you are free to drift into gentle dreams. The world of the ninja fades softly, leaving only the calm hum of night. End of script. Sweet dreams.